this is sort of a conflicting video because, to be honest with you, while I'm kind of used to being stabbed in the back by certain people, it is a little bit weird when you've kind of rocked out with people for so long and they kind of stab you in the back. But it, like, this thing happens, you know what I mean? Like, for clout, for whatever reason, pieces of plastic, much more important than, friendship or any of this stuff, really, I guess. So, at least to some people. Now, this is a very interesting thing because I have to say, like, I respect TimDog. Like, I recently did, like, kind of a debate with him on Next Gen 720's channel where I very much was extremely easy on him, and one of the reasons why was because he was getting over being sick. I mean, he had the pandemic flu, and, it's like I didn't want to, and not making excuses or anything like that, because I thought it was pretty even keel and very respectful, but I'm like, man, it's probably not a good idea to get in a shouting match with this guy. And look, we used to do BGST for years, and nothing but like respect for the guy, and he's got a lot of followers on Twitter and stuff like that. The main thing that I like to point out when it comes to all this stuff is, right, like I was talking to some random person and he butts in on Twitter, on social media or whatever, and I'm just like, then we start kind of going back and forth about Xbox, of course, because it was about VRS, and I thought the original topic was something else and made a mistake, but he kind of jumps on it, and then he starts trying to get personal about YouTube and stuff like this. The first thing I want to say is this, and I always stick by this: never have I ever bragged about YouTube. I've never bragged about any of it to anybody. It's not something that I talk about on social media. Even I'm not like, oh my god, I'm such a big YouTuber. You know what I mean? Whenever I hit a milestone or something, I don't look at this stuff. So people always kind of point it out to me. I'm never the one to point it out to myself, whether it's doing good, bad, or whatever. Past the initial 1,000 subscribers that I set my goal for, the rest of it is gravy since that point. But, it's easy to pick on the YouTube or whatever. I get that. But, like, when your only point is YouTube and you're trying to use that as a bragging point when the only thing you've ever done is gain a bunch of followers by being a crazy fanatic on Twitter, I think there's a little bit of a problem. This guy's, I mean, listen, pushing 50, I guess. And, and the funny thing is, he tweets 24/7 about Xbox and how much he loves Xbox and defends Xbox vehemently. Like, honestly, never seen anything like it. And let's just be real, had Xbox dropped the ball again this past E3, he would have still been defending Xbox vehemently, because he's eating dinner with these guys. He games with Phil Spencer. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't give that up. He has a lot of clout, but the thing is, when you look into it and you see, because he's on my friends list and he's got piss poor gamer score. Like, honestly, my 3-year-old has almost as much gamer score. You know what I'm saying? And he's not been online for 8 days. And the other thing is, like, that's not a bad thing because we're all busy. But here's the thing. I have a job, kids, a family. I'm busy. I can tweet on Twitter when I'm at work, and when I get home, I'm still going to be gaming. This guy is like 24/7, nothing but Xbox, and attacking people. And the thing is, just because you have more followers or more subscribers or more views doesn't make you right. Like, you could say the earth is flat, and then you have 30,000 followers, and they're going to like that and be like, you just own Crapgamer. But is he right? The earth is flat? Like, I mean, come on. Being wrong with people backing up that you're wrong doesn't make you better than anybody else. Trying to belittle somebody that, for YouTube, is like, you know what I mean? Like, to me, that doesn't really make sense. Especially given that, he knows what I do, which is an animal shelter, rescuing animals. And how I actually make money, for the most part, is I do dog training classes, and most of these dog training classes are for low-income families who are at risk of having to put their animals in a shelter and possibly have to be put down because they can't afford a regular training classes. Training classes are expensive for most people. So I took it upon myself to say, okay, well, let me train some dogs for people and teach them how to train their dogs in a way that so they don't have to get rid of their dogs and end up being in this vicious cycle of having to be put down and given up and things like that. So that's what I do. So he knows that, you know what I mean? I have kids, newborns and, kids and married, you know what I mean? I came back from being disabled in a wheelchair, all the stuff that I do, and he chooses to attack my YouTube, of all things. Like, I mean, look, it's crappy reviews. I don't understand why people are like obsessed with subscribers I lose, subscribers I gain, views I get, views I don't get. Like, again, YouTube is something that I do for a hobby. It's like, how do you fail at YouTube? Like, is that at the end of the day? I gave up YouTube, when I was coming back from, being hurt. Like, I didn't care. I was like, and it was my wife who kind of suggested, hey, if you enjoy it, then go ahead and, do it in your spare time. Just don't let it come between anything else. And so it doesn't. I mean, I obviously don't have a ton of time to do the type of stuff that I would like to do right now, in terms of just I have about an hour. A lot of people don't know, but my work schedule is like 4 a.m. till 11 a.m., sometimes noon. And, it can be a busy situation for me. But, so I get an hour basically when I come back to kind of do some videos and stuff. And it's not the best quality or anything like that. But I go out there and I, do videos and I have fun. And, and I troll people a little bit sometimes. Yeah, but I have fun with it. And to be honest with you, like the personal attacks and stuff like that, I don't understand, especially coming from somebody who is pretty much a fraud. I mean, if you're talking... listen, a lot of people think that I don't like Xbox. I still game on Xbox, right? Like, way more than this guy. I have a much more, and I'm not saying gamer scores does the full story, but I went through almost a 2-year period of almost not playing hardly at all on Xbox, right? Where the only time I turned my Xbox on was for Hulu or something like that. And that's not saying I didn't play at all during that time. I just played much, much less than what I actually used to. So for me, this is sort of a weird situation because somebody that talks... And caps that much for Xbox and even xCloud, right? I get that there's lulls or whatever, but over 10 years this guy's been doing this, and the fact of the matter is the games and the gamer score and the actual playing games doesn't match up to what he's saying, which is really unfortunate, which would basically make him a huge fraud, but given the circle that he hangs out with, the Colt Eastwoods and the Dealer Gamings and, all those, it's not really much of a surprise when it comes down to it. And being wrong and then basically kind of throwing accusations and trying to get personal is always something that somebody does when they've kind of lost the flight. You know what I mean? They really lost the flight. They don't know what they're talking about. This isn't personal. Like, I don't know Tim as a person. He could be a great guy. He could be a wonderful family man, a cool dude. But as far as him being some kind of Xbox guru, you need more than, followers to be that. You actually think you have to live that life. And unfortunately, he doesn't live it. I mean, this guy's over here talking how bad it is that that Sony's going to charge people $30 for an expansion. But then he's talking about buying a $350 flight controller for Flight Sim that he's probably not ever going to play or play for 10 minutes and never play it again, because that's what he does. So, for me personally, I just found it a little bit odd. Does that mean that I will never be his friend or whatever? No, I mean, I think that when it comes down to what this guy's talking about is, just come clean on the subject matter. If you're not, if you're more into talking about this stuff, it's like, listen, I don't do a ton of podcasts or anything like that anymore. Like, if that stuff is going to come into your gaming time or whatever, family time, then I'm not going to do it. So I do one, and that's it. And, as far as I'm concerned, like talking about Twitter while you're talking on Twitter while you're at work or something, no big deal. But to do it 24/7, the way that he goes in the paint on everybody, on everything about Xbox and, just defense. Like, I do not understand it. And, it's just really a sad situation, like, it just goes to show you that no matter what you do for people, no matter how close you are to people, You know, just anything can happen, and like people are always going to be there to kind of like stab you in the back and try to get personal and try to, you know, do whatever they can to belittle what you do in their eyes. But again, it's always, in my opinion, the people with the smallest YouTube accounts, they're the ones that are going to be the most honest, because they don't have anything to gain or lose, really. You know, for somebody like me, where I had a moderate success with the Xbox crowd, I could have been a bullshitter and like led people on and been like, oh man, Xbox is still the best box. But if I wasn't having fun playing it, there's no way that I could have done that. Right? Like, that's not how I am as a person. So with that being said, man, much love to the guy for at least trying. But, you know, my advice would be less time on Twitter. You know, play that xCloud. You capped for it. You talked about it, how great it is, and this and that and the other thing. We saw the pictures and things like that. Don't sleep on Xbox unless you're TimDog. And then, of course, you're going to sleep on Xbox, because why wouldn't you? No first-party games this year yet. No AAA exclusive in almost 2 years, but rack that up. Crapgamer out.